It was nearly midnight when I heard the garage door creak open. I had been dozing off on the couch, still half watching some old rerun I couldn't even remember starting. The soft whir of the garage motor cut through the quiet, followed by the distinct slam of a car door. Laura was home. She had been gone 3 days at some corporate seminar her company put together every quarter. Usually she came back drained, cranky, and mumbling something about networking headaches and hotel coffee, but not tonight. "Hey babe," she chirped, stepping through the door like someone returning from a weekend spa retreat. Her hair looked too good for a business trip, loosely curled like she'd had time, or help, getting it just right. And the smile on her face? It was bright, not just regular happy. Giddy. "Hey," I said, sitting up a bit. "How was the seminar?" She dropped her purse by the stairs and waved a hand like it was already old news. "Oh, boring, same people, same speeches." But she was still smiling as she said it. I watched her more than I listened. Her eyes kept darting to her phone, which she held in one hand like a drink she couldn't put down. Every few seconds, the screen would light up, and she'd bite her bottom lip, trying to suppress a laugh. "You okay?" I asked. She paused just for a second and blinked like she'd forgotten I was there. "What? Oh, yeah, totally fine. Just tired. I'm gonna go unpack." Unpack? She never unpacked at midnight. That was always a tomorrow thing. She brushed past me, still holding her phone, and disappeared upstairs. A few seconds later, I heard the bedroom door shut softly behind her. I didn't move. Something wasn't right. It wasn't the smile. It wasn't the giggles or even the fact that she hadn't kissed me hello. It was how quickly that smile vanished when she thought no one was looking. I stood quietly at the bottom of the stairs, staring up into the shadows, wondering what the hell just walked through my front door. Because it sure wasn't the Laura I'd known for 10 years. And for the first time in a long while, I felt something I hadn't felt in this marriage. Suspicion. I wasn't trying to snoop. I really wasn't. But when I heard her muttering in the bedroom, like something had gone horribly wrong, I couldn't ignore it. "No, no, no, where is it?" she whispered, voice sharp and panicked. The zipper of her suitcase rasped open, followed by the crinkle of fabric and paper. I crept halfway up the stairs, heart beating fast. I stopped when I heard her gasp. Then silence. A few seconds later, I peeked around the hallway corner. The bedroom door was ajar. Laura was sitting cross-legged on the bed, pale and tense, holding what looked like a folded piece of paper. Her lips were tight, her eyes locked on it like it might explode. I cleared my throat softly. "Everything okay?" She jumped and shoved the paper under her pillow like a guilty teenager. "Oh, hey, yeah, just work stuff. Forgot I had to turn something in." She offered a strained smile, the same fake one she used with pushy neighbors or awkward waiters. "I'm gonna take a quick shower. Long day." She practically bolted past me toward the bathroom, not waiting for a reply. The door clicked shut. Then the sound of running water. I walked slowly into the bedroom. My eyes went straight to the pillow. I stood there for a few seconds, hand hovering. I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. But I did. No paper. Instead, I found it tucked into the side of her suitcase, barely visible beneath a pair of jeans. Not the paper. Something else. A small black gift box. The kind you'd expect to hold jewelry or perfume. I opened it. Lingerie, red, lacy, delicate. Nothing like what Laura usually wore, and underneath it, a note. My hands trembled slightly as I unfolded it. "For when we're finally alone." No name, no signature, just those 7 words. I stood there frozen, the words echoing like thunder in my head. We. Not you, not us. We. I repacked everything carefully, putting the box back where I found it. Closed the suitcase, walked to the window like it was any other night. But everything had changed. The laughter, the phone, the new energy. Now it all made sense. She wasn't just hiding something. She was hiding someone. And I had just found the first real crack in the marriage I thought was still holding together. I waited until she fell asleep. Her breathing leveled out after the shower, and the soft glow of her phone finally stopped lighting up the room. She turned her back to me and didn't say goodnight. I laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding like I was about to commit a crime. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do, but I couldn't live another day guessing. I got out of bed quietly and padded down the hallway to the office, pulled up our cell phone account on my laptop. We'd shared a family plan for years, never thought I'd need it for anything but billing questions. I entered the login and scrolled through the activity. There it was, one number, repeated over and over. Long calls, late-night texts, a solid pattern from the day she left for the seminar until the night she came back. Marcus Hale. The name wasn't familiar, not to me anyway. I copy-pasted the number into a reverse lookup site. My stomach turned as the results loaded. Not a coworker, not a client, not even remotely connected to her company. Independent contractor. Graphic designer, lives in Denver. He wasn't part of her seminar. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly through my nose. The numbers weren't proof of anything, not yet. But my gut told me enough. And suddenly, that gift box, the note, it all clicked into place. Marcus wasn't some casual contact. He was the we in that message. The real reason Laura had been glowing like a high school girl with a secret crush. I closed the laptop and walked back to bed, my legs heavy like they didn't belong to me. She shifted slightly as I pulled the blanket over myself. For a moment, I just stared at her back, her damp hair sticking to her neck. She had no idea what I knew, no idea that everything between us was changing by the hour. I didn't sleep. I just laid there, waiting for morning, staring into the dark, planning how I was going to get the truth. Every last piece of it. Because now, I wasn't wondering anymore. I was watching. The next morning, Laura was in the shower when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I stared at it for a long second. I didn't move. Then it lit up again. I picked it up. She never left her phone out like that. Not lately, but there it was, screen glowing, her lock code already punched in. I had seen it enough times to remember. Muscle memory did the rest. Messages opened with a tap. And there he was. Marcus. The first thing I saw was a photo. Laura, in the red lingerie, posing in front of the mirror with a smirk on her face, one hand pulling down the strap like it was a game. My stomach dropped. Then the messages. Dozens of them. Flirty, obscene, loving. Plans about meeting up again soon. Jokes about the seminar being the perfect excuse. Her saying she couldn't stop thinking about that last night in the hotel. Him saying he missed the taste of her skin. I read them all. Each word hit like a body blow. Not because of the details, not because of the filth, but because I could hear her voice saying every line, like it was meant for someone she loved, and it wasn't me. I scrolled back to 3 nights ago, when she was supposedly sitting through a company dinner. She'd texted him from the ladies' room. Can't wait for you to rip this off me tonight. No denying it now. No, maybe. No misunderstanding. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a slip. This was betrayal. Deliberate, rehearsed, repeated. I closed the phone and placed it exactly where I found it. When I heard the water stop upstairs, I grabbed my keys and wallet. She called from the bathroom. "Hey, where are you going?" "Just errands," I said, my voice level. "Won't be long." I walked out without waiting for a reply. Once I was in the car, I didn't start the engine right away. I sat there, hands on the wheel, jaw tight. For 10 years I had trusted her. For 10 years I believed we were solid, even when things were boring or quiet or messy. But this changed everything. I took out my phone and searched. Private investigators near me. Found one with solid reviews, local, discreet, Harris Investigations. I hit call. When someone answered, I said one word. "I need help." 2 days after I made the call, Harris met me at a diner just off Route 6. One of those spots that hadn't changed in 30 years. Linoleum booths, a jukebox that didn't work, and a waitress named Cheryl who called everyone Hawn. It was the kind of place where people went to disappear. Harris was already seated when I walked in, nursing a black coffee and flipping through a manila folder like it was nothing more than a stack of invoices. He looked exactly how I imagined, grizzled but sharp, early 60s maybe, with a dry, no-bullshit demeanor that gave me a weird sense of comfort. "Daniel," he said with a nod, sliding the folder across the table. "It's all in there." I didn't open it right away. My fingers rested on the cover for a moment, then I slowly flipped it open. First page, a grainy still of Laura and a man, Marcus, I assumed, standing outside a hotel. She was smiling. He was holding her hand. Next page, them walking into the hotel lobby. Another one of them stepping into an elevator, Laura's hand on his chest, her head tilted back laughing. Then, a sequence of shots from the next morning, her leaving in the same clothes, hair tied up, sunglasses on, him trailing behind. I kept turning pages. The more I saw, the colder I felt. "This is from the conference weekend?" I asked, voice quiet. Harris nodded. "Denver, Hotel Belmont, room 1609, checked in under his name. She was there all 3 nights." I exhaled hard, leaned back in the booth. "Anything else?" He reached into his satchel and slid over a printed itinerary. "Upcoming trip," he said. "Luxury lakeside resort in Michigan. Booked 2 weeks ago. Separate confirmations." She used her personal email. He booked a massage for 2. I didn't say anything. Just stared at the resort name, printed in bold across the top. I recognized it. It was where we'd once talked about going for our anniversary. We never went. It had been too expensive. "Daniel," Harris said after a long pause, "I know this part hurts, but now you have proof. Not guesses, not feelings, facts." He was right. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was real. It was documented. It was undeniable. I closed the folder carefully and slid it back into the envelope. I felt sick, but steady, like the freefall was over and I'd finally hit bottom. "What you do with it is up to you," Harris said, finishing his coffee. "But whatever you decide, don't wait too long." I nodded. "I won't." I left a 20 on the table, shook his hand, and walked out into the parking lot. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the asphalt. I sat in the car with the envelope in my lap, staring out the windshield like I was waiting for something, but there was nothing to wait for. I had what I needed. It was time. I waited until Saturday. Laura wasn't working, and neither was I. No excuses, no distractions. I spent the morning printing everything: texts, call logs, photos, booking confirmations. I arranged them neatly on the dining table, face down, like playing cards in a losing hand. Her hand. She was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone and sipping coffee like it was any other weekend. "Hey," I said casually, "can we talk a minute?" She looked up, cautious. "Sure. What's going on?" I pulled out a chair across from her and sat down. "Is there anything you want to tell me?" She furrowed her brow. "What do you mean?" "I mean," I said, folding my hands on the table, "anything you feel guilty about. Or anything you've been hiding. From me." Her posture stiffened, but she forced a laugh. "Are you being serious right now?" I nodded once. "Dead serious." She blinked. "No, of course not. What's this about?" I flipped over the first photo. Laura and Marcus, hand in hand outside the hotel in Denver. Her face went white. I flipped the next one. The elevator, her arms wrapped around him. Then the printout of her messages, one after another. Her words, her photos. By the 3rd page, her hands were trembling. "Daniel," she said, her voice cracking, "it's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I said, calm, hollow. Tears started falling before she could speak again. "Please, just let me explain. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It was God. It was a mistake." I shook my head. A mistake is one night, one bad decision. This was months. This was a second life. Booked vacations, lingerie, whispering to him from hotel bathrooms. She reached for me, but I pulled my hand away. "Daniel, I was lonely. You've been so distant, so focused on work, so quiet." I slammed my palm on the table, hard enough to make her flinch. "Don't you dare blame this on me." "I'm not," she sobbed. "I'm not. I felt invisible. And Marcus, he made me feel wanted," I cut in. "Special, alive. Yeah, I've read every message." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing now. "Please, Daniel, please. I'm so sorry. I don't want to lose you." I stood up, walked to the table, gathered every printed sheet into a neat pile, looked her in the eyes. "You already did." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "I'm filing for divorce," I said. "This marriage, whatever it used to be, it's over. And the only reason I'm not screaming right now is because I refuse to let you turn this into more drama than it already is." Her breathing turned shallow. "Daniel, please, we can fix this. I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, anything." "No," I said, my voice steady. "I gave you everything. And you threw it away for hotel rooms and half-naked selfies." I walked out of the room, the folder in hand, my chest burning. I didn't look back because I meant it. We were finished. I checked into a motel the same night I told Laura it was over. It wasn't glamorous, just a roadside place with thin walls and scratchy sheets. But it was quiet. And it was mine. For the first time in years, I felt like I had space to breathe. The room smelled faintly of bleach and old carpet, but I didn't care. I sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the folder of evidence like it might burst into flames if I let go. I wasn't sad, not yet, just emptied out. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Graham Nichols was a former prosecutor turned divorce attorney. His office was clean, no nonsense, leather chairs, thick folders, a coffee pot that never seemed to be empty. "You sure about this?" he asked, flipping through the documents I'd brought. "Completely." Graham nodded once. "Then we'll make it quick, clean, and ironclad. No room for games." That's exactly what I needed. I signed the paperwork that afternoon. Laura hadn't responded to any of my texts since the confrontation. I hadn't expected her to. I think she knew the second I walked away that there was no fixing it. 3 days later, Harris called. "You might want to hear this," he said. "Turns out Marcus has a wife." My stomach turned. "You serious?" "Oh yeah. Her name's Nina Hale, and she knows. Found messages between Laura and Marcus on his tablet. Apparently, she's been suspicious for a while. What's she planning?" "Well," Harris said with a faint chuckle, "she's not taking it quietly. She's already contacted your wife, threatened to expose the affair to Marcus's clients, co-workers, even some mutual friends. I think she wants to burn it all down." I didn't feel sorry, not for Marcus, not for Laura. In fact, I welcomed it. Poetic justice, if there ever was such a thing. Over the next 2 weeks, the cracks started to show. Laura stopped posting on social media. Her profile picture disappeared. Her usual "life is perfect" captions turned to silence. I heard from mutual friends that she looked like hell, pale, distracted, that she was taking personal leave from work. Meanwhile, I met with Graham again, tightening the terms of the divorce. No spousal support. I kept the house. Clean split. She didn't fight it. She didn't have the energy to. I moved my things out of the house methodically, room by room. I left her the couch she picked out, the dishes she loved, even the wedding album. All I took were my clothes, my tools, and the one frame photo of my parents from the hall, the only reminder of something that still felt real. The rest, let her keep it. Let her look at it every day and remember what she threw away. By the time the court date rolled around, I was ready. Not angry, not broken, just done. The divorce was finalized on a quiet Tuesday morning in early spring. No courtroom drama, no final showdown. Just a signature, a stamp, and the faint click of a lawyer's pen. When I stepped outside the courthouse, I took the deepest breath I'd taken in months. The air felt different, cleaner maybe, lighter, like I'd finally come up for air after treading water for far too long. I didn't go back to the motel. Instead, I moved into a small rental house on the edge of town. 2 bedrooms, an overgrown backyard, and a shed I turned into a workspace. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I started hiking again, something I hadn't done since college. Just walking through the woods with no phone buzzing in my pocket, no one waiting at home with a forced smile and 1,000 unspoken things between us. I bought a used camera from a pawn shop and started bringing it along, not to post online, just to see what I could capture. I wasn't chasing healing. I wasn't trying to find myself. I just wanted to be still, to stop bleeding and let the bruises fade in peace. Then, one Saturday, I stopped at a little cafe I'd passed 100 times but never entered. It was tucked into a quiet corner of downtown, the kind of place where the chairs didn't match and the walls were covered in local art. I was halfway through my second cup when I heard a voice from the table next to mine. "Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but is that a Nikon?" I looked up. She had dark curls pulled into a messy bun and bright eyes that looked like they could laugh without even trying. "It is," I said. "Picked it up secondhand. Still figuring it out." She smiled. "I teach photography workshops on weekends. You're holding it upside down." I looked down at the camera in my lap, then back at her. "Guess I'm more lost than I thought." "Elena," she said, extending her hand. "Daniel." We shook. Just 2 strangers in a coffee shop. No expectations, no history. We ended up talking for almost an hour, about hiking trails, cameras, her dog named Peanut, and how neither of us really liked small talk, but were somehow doing it anyway. When I left, she handed me a napkin with her number. I walked out smiling. For the first time in a long, long while, I wasn't looking back.